As we all know, Oda is great with hint, foreshadowing, and mystery. With these three elements, he excels more than most of the mangaka out there. Within the world of One Piece, there has been multiple mysteries and lore that even up till today we still haven't got answers to. But within the Yonko saga, there has been a point where we have seen certain lores and mystery come to light, as well as the power of each and every one of the Yonko, whether it's actual physical power or information. And with this power and information, Oda seems to be implying that these two things, power and information, will end up playing a big part throughout the story. But just like the power and information that each and every one of the Yonko have, let's talk about the power and information that you have. And that is the subscribe button. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. If you like this video, please hit the like button. It will help me out a lot. Now let's get on to the video. Like I said, information is power, and within the world of One Piece, information has been one of the main things that Oda has been hinting to, whether it's with the four Yonko and how they get their information to increase their power, or Morgan. Prior to the Yonko arc and the Straw Hats entering the New World, bounties were a form of information, and Oda would give us certain information on topics that are going around the world that the Straw Hats didn't actually experience, which always ends up happening between arcs. But with Totland, we learn the person who is actually writing the newspaper, which is Morgan, Big News Morgan, and the influence that he has with his coups and how he transports all of the newspaper around the world. But within this same arc, we've also end up learning about Big Mom's sources and how her networking works as well. That she was able to actually gain information about the Straw Hats and about Sanji and sort of connect that back to Judge, and as well as having the Baratier and her surroundings to actually use that power to threaten Sanji. But with all this, information played a huge point, which also makes me think the amount of information that each and every one of the other Yonkos have. But towards the end of Totland, we end up learning Luffy's new bounty, and that came from Big News Morgan. Morgan was able to stretch the truth, but his information increased Luffy's notoriety throughout the world, which is an important part on Luffy's power as well. Information plays a huge part, not only increasing the power of a certain individual, actually increase their notoriety as well, which we saw with Luffy, and how Morgan ended up portraying Luffy as to being the sole conspirator within the destruction of Totland Island, and how he beat Cracker and he beats Katakuri, and he also morally beat Big Mom, causing a small alliance with Capone and having Jinbei on his side. With all of the information that Morgan put out there, it increased the status of Luffy. Now, in the most recent chapter, chapter 1017, it seems like Oda sort of threw in a small hint as well, that Shanks has on his side the power of information that will allow him to actually attack a world government ship that had a specific devil fruit, which turned out to be the Gum Gum fruit. Not only that, his connection with the Gorosei, his power goes beyond just physicality and his haki. It goes with the power of information that Shanks has throughout the world and with the world government. Now, we've also seen this with Blackbeard and Kaido. Kaido, as we know, knows about Joy Boy. He also knows about certain things that we still have no information about, but he was able to get that info somehow, even without having the 4 road poneglyphs and possibly not knowing the real poneglyph. The Void Sentry seems to be something that's still void to us. But what if each and every one of the Yonko knows about what happened and they have the amount of information to actually know what happened? This will explain each and every one of their powers, that why, besides the fact of having the physical power and the notoriety, why they stay in that position, because their amount of information and power over exceeds everybody else in the One Piece world. Blackbeard and the information that he knows has to do something with devil fruits and his Yami Yami no Mi. He knew about the information or the power of the Yami Yami no Mi, which allow him to actually overextend his power to have 2 devil fruits, as well as the amount of info that he could gather within Impel Down. He knew how to properly get in, properly get out. You might say it's a little bit of luck, but he figured it out in a way where he can get to the top, not only using his physical power, but using his brain and the amount of info that he has gained throughout living under Whitebeard's shadow. There also seems to be a little bit of something that we don't know, but Blackbeard knows, that he is going after. And we saw this in one of the previous chapters during the Reverie arc, that Blackbeard is going after something. Like I said, we might not know what that is, but he tends to have that information which will allow him to boost up his power. Each and every one of the Yonko, as well as Big News Morgan, uses their networking and their actual information to increase their notoriety and increase their power. As we know, Blackbeard has an informant in Wano telling him about the situation that is happening between the Straw Hats and the Alliance and Big Mom and Kaido. We don't know what he's aiming at, but we do know that somebody is informing him, and we just don't know who that informant is. As well as Shanks. We saw that Shanks knew that Kaido was going to go to the Paramount War before the time skip, and he was able to stop Kaido. During that same time, Shanks was able to get to the war without any problems, without anybody meeting his ship. It's because he has an informant, as well as Kaido probably has an informant with one of the other Yonkos and somebody in Wano. Wano plays a huge part on what Kaido desires, and I feel like it will also play a huge part of which every other Yonko wants as well. But like I said before, they all find out certain things to increase their power through an informant or through information. Within this saga, we have seen the amount of intel and information that all the Yonko and Big News Morgan have to their disposal. But we also have seen what information and intel can actually do for the world government and for the Revolutionary Army. The world government always uses CP0 and other methods to gain information, either if it's incognito or they just go and disguise themselves in a certain group or population to get information. As well as the Revolutionary Army and how they found intel to actually invade Mei-Ō and figure out a way to bypass every military power while the executives in the Revolutionary Army actually gather in Mei-Ō. Within the Reverie as well, we learned that something big has happened, either with the Kingdom of Alabasta and with Sabo. Information and intel has been playing a huge part in the Yonko saga, more than we've actually realized. But Like I said, what is Oda actually hinting to, showing us all of this? Now, how does this pertain to Luffy and his crew, Yonko? As we all know, Luffy is not the type of person to care about what's going on with the world. In the pre-time skip, the way that he would get his information would be through either Nami or with Robin. Robin was the one that allowed us to actually learn about who Dragon is and about certain topics that were going around the world. Now, with that said, post-time skip, it seemed to have shifted to Jinbei. Jinbei was the one that told us about the war between the remnants of the Whitebeard crew and the Blackbeard pirates. The one that told us that Blackbeard is starting to accumulate more and more devil fruits, giving us information on what Blackbeard is doing, but as well as what the world government and the Marines are doing. When the Marines actually stationed themselves in a different location in the battle between Akainu and Aokiji, I feel like Oda is saying that Jinbei will now be the person to give Luffy the amount of information to increase his notoriety. Something else that I feel like it's going to play a huge part in the future, and that is Jinbei's secret ability. He can control whale sharks. When we were in the Impel Down arc, he was able to control the whale sharks so they can actually help him, as well as the rest of the prisoners, to escape. But you might think, how would this actually help the Straw Hats, and how would this make Jinbei a more likely informant than anybody else? Because the amount of whale sharks that came sort of reminds me of Big News Morgan and his coups. He was able to control all the birds to actually spread out so he can spread his information and spread out the news that he has created. Now, what if Jinbei sort of uses the same technique when it's coming on to the whale sharks? That he will ask the whale sharks to go to certain islands or even do certain things so they can bring back information to the Straw Hat crew. This would allow us to see a more enlightful point of view of Jinbei, not only being the helmsman, but also the person that allows us to see how important Luffy's power within information can be. Though I know I probably use the word information like a million times, you can tell that Oda is actually hinting towards something. Something that will play a huge part in the future. But let me know what you guys think about this video. If you have any sort of comments about this topic, please let me know in the comment section below. Like I said before, please like and subscribe to the channel. It will really help me out. I will be coming out with more videos, so please subscribe to the channel if you want some more One Piece content. And I'll catch you guys in the next One Piece video.